Where we last left off, basically, you had basically defended Rivergate. You won the Battle of Rivergate. You rallied the forces together and the remaining forces to assault the portal to Avernus, and you jumped through it, and where you confronted Hizit and fought him and basically chased him off. You almost killed him. He only had like 40 hit points left. You guys were almost there. It's crazy.
I should have just thrown some more spells at him while he was
and
running
then
away.
The portal closed, and then you guys were like, oh man, that's super awesome. We have the spell scroll. And we could totally teleport out of here.
We all held hands. We looked like a bunch of Avengers.
Yeah, it was great. It was like
Man, it was the crescendo of the music, and then just like womp womp,
womp womp womp, as he rolled 2 nat 1s to cast the spell above his level.
I sure did.
Spell scroll.
It takes talent to be this good.
Yeah, it was great. And his bless came up with a 2.
It did.
I mean,
it brought my whole roll up to a solid 5.
Solid 5 on a DC. I think 17.
17. That's right.
Yeah.
It was great.
Man. It was a great movie cliffhanger.
You know,
it was.
It fucking was. And we were all just absolutely stunned.
Man, whoever wrote that script.
then we took time off.
We needed a break
from the main campaign. And then some other stuff happened, which isn't relevant to this character's storyline because they don't know. And
who? What? When?
Some time had passed, some things had transpired, and the next thing you realized, you were all kind of just, almost all of you were just jettisoned through this portal and yanked out of the 9 layers from somewhere. And you were in the room, and there were people in the room, and you recognized Kavira, you recognized Ilyana. Well, you didn't recognize, but you were told one was Ilyana, the other was Novar. And they're just like, hey, you've been gone for 7 months, and shit has transpired. The Cult of Domination is waging basically open warfare against the Holy Empire of Bravadis. They've conquered Teutoburg, laying siege to their cities and laying waste to their villages and the lands. Lior is basically under siege. And it's all badness, and and that's where we'll pick up. It's right there, in the room.
So mostly good news.
So yeah, all good news
for the most part.
You're like, damn, you couldn't have been gone just long enough
for
like the war to be over and come back and
minor consequences. No big deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lumi was there. Forgot about that. Lumi was in the room.
We were like steaming and stuff, and she came over and patted us down.
She patted you out, putting out the little bit of fires.
Yeah.
Your armor was damaged. You're damaged. You're exhausted. You've quite literally been through hell at this point, and unfortunately, a great deal of your magic items also seem to be missing, and you have no idea where. And like worse of it is that none of you really remember anything about being in Avernus. None of you remember anything. It's a blank now that you've crossed over to the material plane.
After fighting Hizit or at all?
After fighting Hizit.
That's just a blur.
Oh, fuck. Now what?
Oh, you tell me, Mark.
I mean, so we all got ripped through this portal, spilled out into this room. Lumi patted us down. Are all the grand important people in this room saying anything to us? Or did they just give us like the brief preamble about like, we've been looking for you, it's been 7 months, there's a war? Like, what exactly was said to us?
They didn't say war directly.
Okay.
Like, not in that way. I mean, there is a war happening in Bravadis, but they haven't said anything more than that.
Okay.
They said that it's been basically 7 months, and they're just kind of just waiting for you all to gather your senses, your better senses.
What happened to Rivergate?
Wait, do the thing.
I just did a thing.
Do the thing.
Julie, do the thing.
Yeah.
Julie, will you do the thing with me?
Forever.
For the rest of them.
Just roar.
Best proposal ever.
I thought I had it playing, so it shouldn't
10
have
out of 10.
turned off, but it looks like it did, so that's annoying.
Secondary Kobold, can you turn the speaker on?
I literally just want to do episode recaps in the Avatar voiceover voice now, that 1940s voice. It's so fun.
So good.
So,
Suspense.
okay. There. It's working now.
Yeah,
I
It's
fixed it.
working! It's working!
I fixed it.
yeah.
What'd you say? Who said what?
So,
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to your dumb face.
Trying to make us
Godric
cry
shakes
early.
his head, kind of almost trying to like clear it as he looks
Does
around.
he kind of, or does he just shake
You're-
his head and clear it?
okay, yeah, you're right.
He's on.
Godric shakes his head, kind
I'm
of
all
looks
about
up.
tonight. Feisty.
What happened with Rivergate? The last thing I remember was fighting Hizit and sending him away, and then not be able to make it back. I can't. It's cloudy. I don't remember much else.
Who are you addressing this to?
The wizard's in front of me.
So everybody?
Yeah, just a
Basically
generic
just the
out
room?
question, just my statement out loud.
Anybody else?
We're waiting to hear what the answer is to it. So Ayasa's on her knees next to Godric, having like stumbled through the portal. She's got her shield and her sword like really wearily at the ready, and she just looks like barely alive at this point.
Okay. So, the one that they identified as Ilyana, she comes forward. This moon elf. She has like long dark hair, and she's wearing her Azure Tower wizard robes, which are more or less kind of a blend of blue trimmed and white. And she just comes forward and, let's see, picks up Katarina, because she seems like she's having a tough time getting up and getting familiarized with her surroundings. Rivergate is more or less fine, to put it one way.
How do we know this is not another trick and we're still not in hell?
I just reach over, kind of pick up my sword, and run along my arm to cut myself.
And he falls unconscious.
Hey, you take damage.
That's fine.
Yes, because that never happened in hell.
Yeah.
All right, that's even better.
Yeah, their magic's not good enough to make you that work. It's okay.
Yeah.
Asmodeus is a terrible god.
And cutting myself, I kind of push up on the sword and stand up, and I'm gonna look around and see who made it to the portal. I'm gonna look at everyone who's just kind of unconscious on the ground, or like kind of getting their things together, bearings together. There's the word I'm looking for.
Okay, I mean, you see everybody at the table.
All right.
I'm pull myself kind of up, but I sit and I like pull into a ball and like, you know.
Oh, it's all coming down on him. It's crashing down.
I'm gonna reach down and kind of pick up Soyasa, and then I'm gonna walk over to Honeysuckle and kind of help her up as well.
Well, she's unconscious.
Oh, she's
so-
unconscious. Okay,
yeah.
I'll leave her there then.
My face into my knees, just
What do we do? I don't remember anything. And I'm fucking tired.
You said 7 months?
Give or take a few days. Yes.
It
7 months.
It feels like hours and then years at the same time. Oh. Are we safe? Can we rest? Can we need a water, food, sleep.
Safe is relative depending on where you are at this point in time. But this is a safe place.
It's safer than where we were if we're actually out of there.
You said that the cult of domination was waging a war against Bravatis?
The cult.
Supposedly.
Did how do they have the forces?
Well, money can buy you just about anyone.
How do you know it's the cult, though? Are you seeing their
We don't.
banners?
We don't know for sure.
You just suspect?
That's what we have you here for.
What about Belindle and the surrounding area? Does it still stand?
Most of the Shattered Coast seems to be fine for the time being.
What about Imrath? News from there? Anything?
There's no news from Emrath.
That's probably good. I think we need rest before we finish talking about anything. I'm about to fall over.
I'm gonna walk over to Locke and kind of just reach underneath and kind of help him up.
I stand.
I'm still lifting you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I kind of shuck you off.
Where is... What happened to the others?
What do you mean?
Hargraves. And
Oh,
Brittle.
hell.
They are not here.
The elf.
You mean Honeysuckle?
Mm-hmm.
She's unconscious on the floor. We're missing Hargraves and Brittle, I believe was everyone else.
The last I remember, we were all
So?
holding hands.
You used magic to save us. Were we the only ones? Was there anyone else yet left to grab?
You came through with the spell. That's all we know. At great expense to ourselves, at great expense to material costs and efforts. This is what it produced. If there were others with you that didn't come through, then that's all we know.
Why can't we remember a damn thing?
Is the memory loss common with people who have visited the Nine Hells and come back alive?
It can be. It happens when other planes are traveled to. This could be some sort of enchantment or spell that you placed on yourselves, for all we know.
So Yas is gonna spend a moment just like with her sword and shield, like quickly like looking over her body in a really like intent manner. Does she find like new scars or like evidence of like shackles or binding or missing scales or anything that's like suspicious?
No.
No?
Nothing that stands out that way.
Nothing that stands
No.
out. But I would notice that like everything else is gone though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna look down and do something similar. I'm gonna look at the wounds I suffered from fighting when I was fighting Hizit.
Mm-hmm.
Do they seem to have healed at all? Or are they still?
Yeah. You don't seem like you're wounded. You're just battered and tired. Like you haven't had a full night's rest in who knows how long.
It is. This is interesting. Even my wounds have closed. But I remember nothing.
7 months. My father could have come home by now. Do you know of a wizard named Malark, by chance?
So she turns to the other wizards. And they don't kind of just shake their head. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
If Belindle still stands, hopefully he does as well.
What about in Rivergate there was the green dragon and the silver one. What happened? What became of it? When we went through, there was the silver dragon went off to fight the green one. And that was the last we saw of the material plane.
None of that's important. We can discuss that at some other time. You all need to go and rest. We have far more important matters to attend to in the coming days.
Maybe our brains will clear with sleep.
They might clear with time, but they may require magical healing. And even then, you might not want to remember what it is that you experienced when you were there.
Want to and need to are rarely the same.
I
Well
agree.
spoken.
We must know what happened to our companions that did not make it back with us.
I'm gonna turn and walk over to Honeysuckle, reach down, and grab her by the back of her clothing, and just throw her over my shoulder.
Show us to the room so we may rest.
Obviously, it wasn't us, because if I had any choice, she wouldn't have come back, so we still must have been on good terms with each other.
Now is an interesting time. I do not know. I find myself tired. I don't even feel the energy to get angry at things that I should be mad about.
No.
I think rest is good. Let us go rest.
Food. Food, then rest.
Yeah.
All accommodations can be made available.
Thank you.
Just follow the exit through the doors and follow the hallway down. And the rooms are already ready and available.
All right. I'm gonna head out, go to the rooms. I'm gonna find an open room and throw her on a bed and then walk out.
You're really not nice to my bodies.
Yeah, that's true. Remember, Gal?
Okay, that's fair. These are fair statements. But I put you in a bed.
Didn't like throwing you
Better
on the
than the
floor.
street. Better than dirt napkins.
Better than using you as a tool to escape. All
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
Be happy you're alive and on a comfy bed. All right. This is way better than Gal.
Yeah.
This is upgrades, people. Upgrades.
Yeah, so Ass is gonna push by everybody and follow along and find a free room that hopefully has food and drink in it and devour some of that before passing out on the nearest bed.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm gonna eat, and then I'm going to. When I get into my room, I'm going to offer basically a silent prayer to Hargraves. I've
To
known.
who?
I'm going to say to Crumb, actually. And I'm also going to, I'm going to say to Crumb.
Interesting choice.
Mhm.
Considering he doesn't give a shit whatsoever about
I'm
or
gonna-
handle that as a domain.
I know. The
It's
reason,
interesting.
The reason being is I'm going to. I did not know you long, Hargraves. I believe your name was Mason. When I met you, you were a Goliath who did not know any better. You did not know our ways. You did not know our beliefs.
Bork, bork.
All I know is I am here and you are not. I hope that in your death, you found what drove you, what gave you the. I hope your death was in combat and it was worthy of a warrior like you to die. I say this to both Crumb and your god. I believe it was the Raven Queen.
No.
No? Who the fuck was his? All right. Whatever god you worshipped. May you find peace in their arms and somehow make it out of hell, Avernus. Now I'm gonna go to bed.
Okay.
I'll go into my room and cast Major Image to make it look like my bedroom back at home. And
Aw.
I have a big, giant, worn tome that I'm gonna hug and just fall asleep without even going to eat anything, or I'm just going to sleep.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just in the room that I followed behind him when he dropped you off. I just stayed in that room because it's nice and dark and quiet. I sit and I cross my legs and I contemplate for the 6 hours I need to rest and just go over everything that I can remember over and over and over. Just everything was perfect. The spell was gonna work and it just didn't work. And I want to know why.
That's true.
So I'm just racking my brain through everything I can think of. Every tome I've ever read about magic. Everything I've ever known about Avernus. Just trying to make sense of it. Even though a more rational Locke knows it doesn't need to make sense. It's fucking magic.
Fair enough.
Anyway, that's minus 6 hours. And then after that, I figure they're all gonna head for food again, so I just make my way to the kitchen or cafeteria or whatever they got set up wherever we're at. Wait there for them.
Okay. Yep. So a night of rest comes and passes, and for the first time, it feels like you actually have rest.
Probably feels great. Feels amazing. That food was excellent. Great sleep.
Yep.
Yeah, the 8-hour long rest that we need turns into a 12-hour just like coma.
We wake up.
Basically.
We wake up where they're back in the room and they're like, it's been 7 days.
You've been this
7
for a
months
very long
and 7
time.
days.
You've been gone for 7 months. You've been gone for 7 days, and shit has hit the fan again.
They're like, now there's 3 more wars. Like, you got to stop doing this. I'm like, oh shit.
Stay awake.
So, you eventually you're roused in the morning individually by what look like more or less like apprentice wizards. Everyone that you've seen has the robes, and every single one of them has been an elf, and every one of them has been wearing the robes of what you're pretty sure is more than likely a circle. So based on that, you all individually gauge that you have to be at a circle somewhere. You're not 100% sure, but you're definitely in a well-defended, magically protected facility at the moment.
Did
Just
so
like
well for
the last
one.
circle we were in.
Nothing bad can happen in circles.
Yeah, nothing bad ever
Ever.
for any reason. Nothing bad can happen when you try to use spell scrolls either.
Never.
Learn that as well.
Never. So they come, they like knock on the doors, wake us up.
Yep.
So Asa's gonna wake up and then throw the door open and where can we get food?
You can find it in the hall, in the gathering hall.
Okay, good, thank you, bye. And then she pushes them aside and beelines it there.
Yeah, they just let you go. So one at a time, they basically wake all of you up and tell you on your way,
The first
including
thing
you.
Okay. The first thing I'd like to do is reach to my back. Is there any fresh scarring from where a werewolf attacked me?
No.
No.
Nope.
Well, because you didn't even hear the speech or anything. You're waking up in a strange bedroom with no idea. Oh no!
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
So
think of
Asa
that.
didn't realize that either.
Honestly, it didn't occur to Locke either.
We just left one of our party members in a room.
I'm totally caught up in my own issues. Sorry, bud.
Yep, you're on your own this time. Solve it.
Where am I?
I did light a candle.
Is what I say to the apprentice wizard.
The apprentice kind of steps back and gives you some space. And in Elvish tells you that you're currently in the you're currently recovering in the circle of deep shadow in Yvalari.
Oh my gosh. That sorcerer.
Where is that in comparison to Rivergate?
North.
How did I get here?
You were, I believe, rescued from the 9 layers of hell.
Were there others? A red-headed Goliath who's very loud.
Yes, the others they should already be waiting for you I believe, in the gathering hall.
Can you please point to me? That way.
And he just nods politely and points in the direction of going, like, basically right out the door and continuing that way.
Okay.
The architecture is all very familiar. It's all Elvish.
I will slowly rise, and since the staff was equipped, I still have that, right?
Yeah, if it was equipped, you got it.
Okay, so more or less using that, I'm going to make my way to them.
All right.
I don't even know how to spell what you said.
So, one after another, you all meet in the gathering hall, and you're not the only ones in there. There's other apprentice wizards and other elves there eating There's some armed guards as well, in their armor, with their like glaives and shields. But other than that, everything seems pretty peaceful for the most part. In here, you actually get your first sign of like actual daylight as it's kind of coming down, sparsely coming down, breaking up through probably some sort of like canopy. You're not really sure, but breaking down into the common room where everybody else seems to be eating. But all the other elves are more or less kind of just keeping their distance from you all. And then one of them approaches one of the apprentices who had already been working with you. He comes over to you where you're all sitting and eating, and just when you are all ready, the Grand Wizard Ilyana would like to have a word with all of you as soon as possible. There's very important business to be taken care of in light of the recent events that have occurred.
That's your message.
No. Keep your messages yourself, Mark.
Oh.
Well, did some sleep help any of you to remember what happened while we were gone?
I feel well rested and I can remember my spells and I feel better, but I don't remember anything. Except how good food tastes.
The only thing that I have found is all my wounds. They were healed from when Hizit hit me. From the weapons that cut my flesh, I am healed. It was long enough for them to heal or magic to heal me. So things happened. I haven't inspected my gear. I haven't seen my sword enough to see if there's any chips or marks of damages in it.
I discovered a very similar effect on my back. Where the werewolf. Where is he?
He did
We
not
don't
come
know.
back.
He could be dead.
He and Brittle were not with us when we came through the portal.
Brittle, is that the other automaton?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is the one that swung that weapon very powerfully.
The answer is in our heads somewhere. But we don't know what happened to him. It could have been they failed when they summoned us here. It could be that he died.
What I am curious is that Ilyana said that there's something more important than all of this. And we need to speak about it.
Well, they said the cult of domination, so I assume that it possibly... Did you notice, by the way, that we all my bags are gone? I don't have any of the potions from Rivergate. I don't have anything on me except my sword and my shield.
The only thing on me that I have now is my sword, my braces, and my tattoos.
Excuse me. May we refrain for a second here, and I'll take a moment, okay? As we've all found ourselves in a very strange and new place from once we were, and I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. What was the last thing anyone recalled?
Is it running away and us holding hands, waiting for our friend to summon us out?
And then it failing. Out of character. Do we remember?
You don't remember anything.
That's fair.
That's where it
But
ends.
do we remember? Because I'm thinking about the last session we interacted with Lilith. Do we remember that at all?
No.
Okay. Basically, we just remember the spell failing. That's it. Okay.
Mhm.
Just wanted to double check. That is the last thing I remember. Is Locke's magic failing him?
Locke? What happened?
I don't know. It shouldn't have failed. It didn't fail. It just didn't work.
I believe that is the definition of a failure.
But I do not. I believe that was out of any of our control. The weave was very disturbed in that
I
place.
should have calculated for it, and I failed.
Oh, it's not your fault. The weave was turning us into bloody cats. There's nothing you could do about it.
Perhaps you're more living than I give you credit. Ta'er is humanoid.
I wish I was less so then. But I must admit, I wish I could take more comfort in squishy flesh things like food and sleep. I've been sitting, thinking over and over on why it failed, and I can't explain it. It was perfect. It was everything should.
Okay, but arcane in tune to one another. How did it feel? What was the sensation you received when it?
The sensation was of a teleportation spell that worked perfectly, and then didn't. Scroll acted normal, burned up as normal scroll would during usage. I felt it flowing through like any other spell, and on the other side, oblivion, void, nothingness. The greatest failure of mine. Thousands of.
It
Who
doesn't.
knows what differences?
It doesn't serve you to focus
7
on
months
it.
we've been gone.
Yes, but there's no way to prove that is actually your fault. Potentially the scroll was a fake.
There is no point in dwelling on it when we have.
The scroll was real. I felt the spell.
There's no point in dwelling on it. We have more pressing matters. Ilyana is asking for us, and apparently it is urgent.
Who is this Ilyana?
The Grand Master of this place.
Another circle. Somehow devoid of answers as well.
Well, hopefully she can give us some when we go see what she has to say.
Hopefully they're a little more forthcoming than the last time.
They seem like they wanted to talk to us. I'm sure it will be, as long as eat your fill. Well, everyone else eats your fill.
I imagine they saved us for a reason.
I agree. With all the trouble they went through, they
I imagine
want our
they-
help, and I'm sure they want to help us as much as they can too.
I mean, that magic's a little beyond me, Katarina and Locke, but how much did they have to use to bring us back? I've never even heard of a spell like that.
More powerful than the spell we would have needed to use to get out ourselves.
Finding us alone is. Who knows?
And yet they
Especially
did.
with the weave as disturbed as it was. It's not surprising, really, that it took them so long.
What makes you all so special? Why would they do that?
Lumi. Where is she?
You don't see her in the room.
Not here. If she is anywhere, she is doing her own thing.
She may already be with the Grand Wizard.
I'm sure one of those guards would tell us if we asked them.
Let us just go to Ilyana and discuss it now. We're full-bellied, we're rested, and we have new things to learn.
And I kind of just.
I am quite
Stand
eager
up.
to know more. I'll follow him.
Yeah, and I stand up, push off the table, and.
And I'm still just clutching my big giant book the whole time.
And again, marching off, stopping, turning to a guard or apprentice, anyone nearby.
Where is Ilyana located?
So the guard turns, like snaps to you, facing you, so that way, because you're like off center. So he snaps directly to you, so he can face you. The Grand Wizard can be found in the map room.
And where is that?
1 story above, up the round stairs, sir.
Thank you.
And then he just turns right back too.
I mean, walking towards the round stairs.
So Ass is going to grab a giant turkey leg or whatever meat leg they have to go, and then go after Godric.
Okay. Anybody else? Last minute things before you leave the mess hall, basically.
Mm-mm.
I seem to be missing a familiar.
It's not there. Hasn't appeared or returned or anything.
Disturbing. Very disturbing. Enough.
Locke?
Oh no,
Katarina?
I'm just following.
Okay.
Godric.
So you march up the round stairs and go up to the next floor, and reading, basically navigating and using, reading the Elvish, you help guide them to basically the map room. Then you reach a set of double doors and go through them, and in the room you see the elf who is identified as Ilyana. You see Lumi in the room, and they seem to be in some sort of heated discussion. With raised voices. You see Kavira standing off to the side, and there in the room is a large, basically it's section maps of different parts of Terrowyn, and you can see in the center is a large ring of runes that you recognize very easily as an elven teleportation gate, one of the ancient ones. And so they're exchanging some words, and you pick up that Ilyana is like arguing with her about something about the faceless and how they need to match priorities. And then Kavira speaks up and chimes in about what they're going to do about Bravum being killed and where the metallic dragons are. Ooh. And Ilyana just basically tells her to silence and reminds her that right now that's like vengeance, and that none of that is an integral part of what they need to accomplish, and they need to focus on the next step. And after she has this conversation, Lumi comes over to you all and individually just hugs each one of you. And she just basically, you have no idea what I had to go through in order to make sure that they brought you back. You all owe me one. I will collect in trinkets or wealth, but not high fives. I need something more substantial than that.
It seems like we've lost most of our most important items, so I'll have to take a rain check for now.
When I find the Blinky, it is yours.
Agreed. We'll pay you back when we can. Thank you, though.
Well, I already have a job to do, so I won't be following you on this next part. I have to continue my work, but I might see you back here soon. The world's crazy. It's crazy. There's no other way to put it.
I mean, it sounds like it from what we've heard in the brief news we've been given.
Well, stay safe while you're out there.
Well, I have multiple lives to spare, so I think I'll be fine.
Good luck.
Safe travels.
May the cat god watch your path.
I can always hope. And she just kind of moves past you and goes down in the hall. And you actually, as she closed the door, you see that she's actually 3 individuals join her. And from just a short glimpse through the door as it's closing, they look like you're not 100% sure, but they look like they're probably elven rangers. And then the door closes. And Ilyana just kind of, come.
I'm just curious, what kind of elf is Ilyana?
She's a moon elf.
Thank you.
She's got black hairs in her. She's got nice long black hair now, and it's kind of draped down to her shoulders, running over the front. She has the same wizard robes on that you saw before, but you see what she's wearing. It's a lot of white and trimmed in blues. Outside of that, she doesn't have any scars or any of the real distinguishing features outside of what most elves are, just physical specimens to be marveled at for the most part. Aside from the fact that her eyes appear to be, you see sparks of lightning, and it seems like her irises are like a swirling storm, basically. Outside of that, she doesn't seem to be holding any magic items. She doesn't have a staff or anything. So she's just kind of standing there patiently for you to gather to her.
I'll walk up.
Yep, I shall do the same.
I'm sure that you all have a great deal of many questions to ask. What happened since you've been gone? What has happened? Why you are here? Why we chose to bring you back? All those things will get answered. But at the moment, what we really need from you is, according to Kavira, you have all in one shape, one way or another, had dealings with, encountered, or learned information regarding the motivations of the Cult of Domination, which up to this point have more or less remained only a partial mystery. There are still things that we need filled in, details that we don't quite understand. And we assumed that we would get them from you, and that your knowledge in dealing with them would come in handy. So that's partly why we brought you back.
Just for the information that we might have.
More or less.
It's better than nothing.
I can tell you that just before the portal opened and the chains came out of it, we did find that the Cult of Domination had infiltrated the Circle of Mirrors. I, along with Honeysuckle and Lumi, and another who I haven't seen here, we found a portal in a study in the Circle of Mirrors that led to a laboratory of sorts. That's actually where we found Soyasa here. It seemed that they were growing. I won't pretend to know what they were growing, but it looked almost like egg sacs of a very large insect. And in that laboratory was underneath the keep of Lord Manfred.
Kavira informed me that
Indeed.
Lord Manfred had been working with the Cult of Domination and the devils that they conspired with to ultimately work to undoing or fulfilling her Takisis's obligations to her husband, the King of the Nine Hells. But we're not really sure how successful those attempts were and whether or not the gesture was all that was required. But we also know that through the ruins and digging through them, that what they were making were called Abshai. Servants, dark ancient servants that Takisis once used to gather, collect, hoard, and move souls to Avernus on her behalf.
I had one of them in my arms.
These creatures are pure evil, supposedly spawned from a gift of the dragon goddess Tiamat herself to Takisis. Making them requires what we thought was long-lost knowledge from Takisis' master-at-arms, who was killed during the Dragon Wars. We thought it was buried and couldn't be found again, but somebody seems to have uncovered it, more than likely through the hard work of the Cult of Domination and research and access to Emrath.
Yes, I can testify that this technology is alive and well, thanks probably in part to whoever was corrupted within the circle, as well as Lord Manfred. I do not know who in the circle was working alongside him, though.
Those conspirators that we could find have been imprisoned in the circle. Those who we could not fled, more than likely to gather their forces and find safety in the Cult of Domination.
Have any more portals opened, or did we at least succeed in that?
Whatever was happening in Rivergate is not the ultimate goal and plan. They weren't opening the portal to free Takesis because she couldn't be unbound without first fulfilling the obligations and the deal that she made with Asmodeus all those years ago. The question now remains is, was the deal fulfilled? Is she no longer imprisoned? And from that point forward, she can then make her way to the material plane, but not without the help of mortals and those who be willing to bring her here.
And you're positive there's no news from Imrath? Military movements? Spies? Anything?
Maybe we can find those answers when we travel to the council today.
The council?
Whatever information that you have, you better hope it's enough to convince all of the other factions to go to war against the Cult of Domination. For many of them are dealing with internal struggles with them. Some still see them as a small threat or a non-threat, small movement, even while their lands are ravaged and raided by those who are loyal to them. For what the Cult of Domination was truly doing was building loyal, small armies within the borders of many of these other nations and kingdoms. And with the outset of the Red Hand Horde attacking and launching an offensive against Bravadis, attacks happened elsewhere across the Shattered Coast, across Terrowyn, for as far as we're aware. Contact with many of the other circles has been lost, and some of the nations refuse to lend help. So that's where we'll be going to today. We'll be traveling to Aleska in the Ever-Setting Woods, where we'll meet with the other leaders of the major factions, and you will have to convince them with your first-hand knowledge of the true threat that the Cult of Domination poses to all life and what a return of Takesis to the material plane could mean for everyone, and the ascendance of, once again, of chromatic dragons to power.
I'll have a few things to say to them.
What of the metallic dragons, which our companions here dealt with before we left?
We have no idea. For the most part, the dragons seem to be staying out of the fighting.
Will we have a chance to convince them as well? Are they one of the factions?
They won't be appearing.
Of course they won't.
We haven't had any contact with any of the metallic dragons, any of the ancients, since the outbreak of the conflict 7 months ago. I guess that they don't see a need to intervene in a war that isn't a full-blown conflict. They don't see the need to interfere in mortal affairs fought between mortals. As long as Takesis remains in Avernus, and as long as the chromatic dragons remain out of the conflict directly, they will more than likely do the same, honoring the pact that they signed thousands of years ago.
So then there have been no accounts of chromatic dragons attacking cities, only these devilish armies or otherwise?
Raids by those followers, loyal zealots to the cause, to the Cult of Domination, which is more or less disguised very cleverly their entire motive into anti-tyranny, anti-authoritarianism, anti-corruption. The cult's priests whip up mobs into frenzies, where they burn down towns and raid outlying villages. Haral, the West Dales, Lior, Madrin, Bravadis, they're all coming under such attacks and such unrest. But the only real fighting is happening with the Red Hand and Bravadis, where at this moment they stand alone on their own with no support from any other outside forces. Some of the other factions believe that Bravadis should stand on its own, that if they're the only target and they fall, that leaves room for other nations and kingdoms to rise to power and take their place.
We must make these leaders see that Bravadis will only be the first on a long list of kingdoms to fall to the cult.
The other factions, lords, and leaders don't necessarily believe that the cult of domination is as organized as it is. That's where your first-hand account and experience can come in. They see zealots and riots and people throwing tantrums in the streets, burning, screaming for the downfall of the tyrants and people in charge. They don't necessarily see a direct correlation between the actions and bravadis, which, again, we don't know is necessarily... We can't prove that the cult of domination is responsible for those attacks either. It's, as it appears, it seems to be just a horde of ogres and giants, hobgoblins, goblinoids, waging a war for raiding, for wealth, for glory, whatever their motivations are. The Red Hand is just another mercenary company. It's 3 separate legions of hobgoblins waging a conflict that happens every dozen years or 100 years or so. There have been reports of cities burned to the ground by dragons, but it's difficult to substantiate such claims from so far away.
So
Especially with the Emperor unreasonably declining assistance from the circles.
Would there be merit in the fact that Lord Manfred himself was allied with these people?
Do you know where he is?
I think we presume him to be dead at this point with...
His body was not at the ruins, and neither was his son's. Nobody knows where he is. If he could be found and interrogated, it might give us all the connecting pieces that we know. It might unravel more of their plans. As it stands right now, we just don't understand the cult's motivations. They're holding and waiting for something. Either for more forces to rally to their cause, or for some other piece to move on the board.
they're waiting to bring her back.
I don't think so. They're searching for something. What little information we can glean is that their spies and their wizards and are hard at work trying to find the dragon's crown, her ancient artifact, and some other object of great value and importance. We do know that they have found something, but we're not sure what it is yet. There's a lot of conflicting information and reports to cover. This is a vast territory. Many pieces are moving.
When is this meeting?
We're already late.
If we wait for them to find what they're looking for, we may have lost by then.
We may have already lost.
Either way, the goal today is to get pledged support from all the other important lords and leaders of the free nations in the world. Without their continued pledged support in their forces, without resources, they will fall alone without one another, one by one. And if Takesis is raised again from Avernus to take the throne,
We're doomed.
we're doomed.
Well, then let us hope that we can make them see reason.
Either way. You ready?
As I will ever be.
Let's do it.
So she turns. Kavira, mind the circle in my absence. She just gives her a nod. And then she cites an incantation, a somatic gesture. And the portal turns on and boom, there's a flash of light. And you're in another teleportation circle in the middle of a wilderness city. So, with a blast of basically sound, Aleska, in the middle of this overgrown structure, this like almost gazebo-like structure, you kind of come to, and Eliana just starts walking down this path, this like overgrown path. And as you kind of look out from where you are, you can see a grand, like high elven city that was built probably thousands and thousands of years before this point. The twin Severn River cuts through the city center ahead of you. Its deep waters carry dozens of boats and goods that trade up and down to Marseille from Sherford. Great towering trees cast a deep and dark canopy which breaks up the bright light rays that are cascading down into the city below. Sweeping and graceful open archways adorn every building and structure that you can see, with bridges created by tangled and twisting tree roots that crisscross the wide river from one side to the other, and the soft hue of blue lamps which cast a soft touch on the stone elven structures that act as guides and docks for the elf trading boats to come dock at. It's quiet and peaceful, the sound of the wilderness. Everything blends into this perfect harmony between the wilderness and the structures of elfstone that they grow to make these buildings. Magically enhanced to be protected and almost nearly invisible when seen from the outside. You can see dozens of tree top houses and structures that are built onto these old trees connected by rope bridges, and you can see elves and other races, humans, halflings, working diligently, trading on the ports. And Ileana just turns to you. Quickly, follow me.
Follow after.
We'll be heading to the council chambers, where everybody should be already waiting for our arrival. So she guides you across to this bridge, crosses the Severn River, and you go into a large structure adorned with like art that sort of seems to be mirroring, like there's statues of elven heroes and the god Glorendel. There seems to be the columns, like on the archways on the outside, have, because of the blue lights, cast almost like they give the impression of like dusk and dawn just setting behind a forest when you can see the daylight break through the edge of it. So she goes through a set of doors down a hallway and comes through. Everything is like an open concept, so there aren't many actual physical obstructions to moving through any of the buildings. As you're approaching the hallway and entering the council chambers, you can, the first thing, before you see anybody, you can already hear that whatever representatives are present are already shouting in the room and squabbling with one another. As you get closer, it starts to become more clear that they're yelling at each other about how to deal with the looming threat of the cult domination over one another, then displacing blame for past failings in the region, treaties not held up, bad trade deals. Nobody seems to be on one another's side at the moment. Most notably, as you enter, you recognize the banner for Westguard, and their representatives seem to be standing in the middle of the room, have moved past the giant circular table that that everybody else is sitting or standing at, and they're in each other's faces yelling at the Rivergate's delegate about Manfred and his failings and how their corruption basically put them in this position altogether.
Mm-hmm.
As you look up, there's basically glassless window slits, and you can see where light is continuing to kind of come in and hit the table, like the center of the table. And there also seems to be small glowing orbs of light floating about the room near the roof, which seems to light up a painting of a graceful unicorn in stride through a field. But as you enter, everybody stops and they turn for a moment and they look at you. And one man speaks up. One of the representatives from Rivergate. No, not Rivergate. Westguard. There we go. That's backwards. It's not supposed to be written that way. Typo.
English.
Yeah,
Or hard.
English is hard. So, he's kind of he's a human man in his about 30s, and he has a very, I wouldn't say necessarily a commanding presence, but it's definitely a presence which you're drawn to him immediately. He's a very like ruggedly handsome individual with dark brown like facial hair and hair that he has like kind of almost like a crew cut, I guess would be the best way of describing it. He doesn't have any scars. His armor seems pretty new. It hasn't seen any signs of battle or combat. But on it, you recognize the logo from the Westguard Mercenary Company, and another individual who almost met kind of like the same description, except older, maybe in his 50s, kind of comes up next to him. They step away from the Rivergate representative, and they turn around, and they start walking around the table, and he addresses all of you. So these are the supposed heroes from Rivergate, then, are they?
You are correct.
It's nice of you finally to join us, Ilyana. It wasn't bad enough that you were missing from the world for 1,000 years, doing whatever it is that you were doing while you're gone, but then you were late to this important meeting. I see elves are no more forthcoming with their time and their effort than they ever have been in the past.
Please, it is our fault that she is tardy, not her own. We had some recuperation to do after being in hell for the last 7 months after saving Rivergate.
You're welcome for the portal being closed.
He's kind of, Rivergate's problems are everybody's problems now. If he had simply come to us for help in the first place, it would have never happened. Westguard has long been the protector of Harral and the West Dales and those city-states who are loyal to the Banner Alliance. We signed these treaties. They're not just words on paper, they do matter.
And yet on that day, it was us who were in Rivergate fighting the demons and devils that came from the sky.
Our troops would have been there as well. You simply want our help now, though, don't you? The past may be the past, but that's not what this meeting is about. You need our assistance. You need our troops and our connections to other mercenaries and trained soldiers from around Terrowyn. You won't win our support by waving around your deeds in the past, at least not my respect. So, sitting at the table, you recognize the markings for most of the major influential factions from the Shattered Coast and most of Terrowyn. You see representatives from what makes up the Banner Alliance, which is historically been Lior, Westguard, Rivergate, Whitecourt, Aleska, Fallman, Shereford, Tivin, and the Banner Alliance was more or less created as like a mutual defense treaty by all the independent major powers to specifically designed to combat grave threats to the world like what they're facing now, and to secure trade between their regions and make it safe for everybody to do business and prosper. And you see one representative from Rivergate, and you see two from Westguard. You also recognize the heraldry from the woman sitting at the table is from Whitecourt. You see and recognize the heraldry from a man sitting there, an older man, probably in his 60s, with a long beard. He's wearing the heraldry associated with the Aldwell family in Fallmond. You see a representative with the heraldry from Shereford at the table. But you don't see anybody present that seems to be representing Lior, so you don't see the Rampaging Lion and the purple fields associated with Lior there. You also see, actually make a perception check or history check for me.
It's gonna be a 9.
It's gonna be a 9.
You're not 100% sure, but there's an elf in the room beside from Ilyana. She's not wearing any really identifiable clothing, but you think she seems to match the description of what you understand of the person who's called the Silver Lady, and her name is Elashor Aralana, and she's a moon elf, and she supposedly rules Aleska and the Ever-Setting Woods. So you would be in her city at the moment. So she's obviously representing Aleska's interests in the Banner Alliance overall. You also see the heraldry on a very noble and shiny, well put together paladin, a young man who's wearing the heraldry for the Vanguard Wardens. It's another major faction in Terrowyn. You also see the heraldry for the Truth Seekers, whose basically spies and supporters you've already met in Thalen and Casey, and their agents are called Lore Walkers. You also see the banners and heraldry for the Sacred Brotherhood, which is made up of like druid circles, ranger conclaves, and barbarians whose interests basically are like in the balance, and they normally only come together in this kind of representation when there's like dire catastrophes or like on hand. You also see a couple of sturdy and kind of like overly bearded dwarves who seem to be there representing the Steel Confederacy. And then Ilyana seems as though she's there to represent Ilithir and Yvalari and Mendrathis, the Blood Elves and Moon Elves in that ancient kingdom on their behalf. And everybody is basically, some people are standing, but almost everybody seems to be sitting around this large table in the room, of which there are enough seats available for you all to sit at if you would like to as well. So Ilyana just kind of goes and she takes a seat, and it seems like it's a good idea for everybody else to take a seat too, probably.
So I also will sit on the left of her.
I will go take a seat as well.
Yeah, I'll sit next to Soyasa.
I will take a seat. Begin to braid my hair so I watch what goes on.
So Ilyana sits and... Well, let's get to it then. I guess some introductions are in order. Let's make sure we all understand who's here and why we're here. So, Marshal Aldrin Venatar, representing Rivergate as its new ruler or lord in the absence of Manfred and his unconfirmed death. Along with him, or not along with him, from Westguard we have Lord Raymond Robinfeld and Castus Merriworth, leader of the Westguard Mercenary Company. We have Vivian Roslin, representing her husband and Whitecourt. Christoph Aldwell, representing Fallmend. Lord Matthias Stanton, representing Sherford. Elashor Aralana, representing Aleska and their interests. We have Jeremiah Corbett, representing Vanguard Wardens. We have the esteemed lore walker Alison Westlake, representing the Truth Seekers. And we have the ranger Natalie Fawn, representing the Sacred Brotherhood, as well as Bramdor Fordigger, representing the Steel Confederacy, and Ilyana Eluin will be representing Ilithir on all matters on behalf of both the Blood Elves of Mendrathis and the Moon Elves of Yvalari. Unfortunately, we could not get... Go. There we go. Okay. We could not confirm or get word back on representatives from the 5 metallic dragons and their leaders, so they will not be joining us. So you have all been waiting patiently, and we have been looking for answers, and I believe that we shall get those here today. Hopefully these individuals who saved Rivergate and stopped the Shattered Coast from falling to and succumbing to the influence of Takesis's motivations, to the cult of domination from taking control of the lands, whatever their goal was. We do have them to thank for not losing every human life possible that lived within the walls of Rivergate. According to Kavira, they have knowledge of the inner working and have encountered the cult of domination on multiple occasions, and information that may, when all put together with everybody else's information, may give us a clearer picture of their motivations and what their ultimate goal is, or their next immediate steps at least. For their movements seem confusing, and the fact that the dragons have not become involved in any real fighting leaves us in a precarious position when it comes to the opening moves of a coming and looming war. So Jeremiah Corbett addresses the room. On behalf of the Vanguard Wardens, I would simply like to state that our leader does not necessarily believe that this is the coming steps of another dragon war. Merely simply the temper tantrums of those individuals who do not agree with leadership with their rulers and would rather see some other archaic form of institution. And we believe that this will eventually mold over and they will go back to plowing their fields and working their storefronts on behalf of the good of all of mankind.
How many small protests have you seen in which a portal to hell opened up in the sky?
Mutually exclusive events. Again, we have no proof that Lord Manfred was working directly with the Cult of Domination, or that's even what happened. As far as we know, he made a very, very terrible deal, in which was collected upon by the devils later. It's his simple greed and undoing that led to Rivergate's destruction. The Cult of Domination and the connections to him are circumstantial at best.
His court wizard was a dragon, responsible for much of that destruction.
Hearsay.
Seen it with our own eyes.
Still hearsay. We need tangible proof that the Cult of Domination's ultimate goal is to bring back Takessis and reinstitute the power of the chromatic dragons once again over the lands of Terrowyn.
Keep waiting.
In the
You'll
basement of Lord Manfred's keep, we found Abshai being created. Abshai that many of us probably know are dark servants on behalf of Takessis. If he had no relation to the actual Cult of Domination, I believe that the odds of finding those in his keep were very rare.
I guess we'll just have to take your word for it, considering almost everything that was there was destroyed. We found no such evidence in our independent investigations of the region that would lead us to believe there was any other foul play out once the portal closed. That all sources of devil energy and influence disappeared with the closing of the gate, other than the wreckage left behind by the war machine that they brought through.
We only have what we have on our backs right now and our first-hand accounts. What are you going to accept as proof if not our words? Put us under a truth spell if that will make you more confident on what we're saying, but we saw this with our own eyes.
I'll cast Major Image to make it look like we're sitting in the room that was underneath Manfred's keep with all the big vials and stuff that like we found Soyasa in and the egg sacs. And I'll make it look like on the table, in the middle of the table in front of everybody, is the creature that we were carrying with us for a while.
Fucking badass!
Shut up!
You shush!
Ignore the
Peanut gallery.
kobold that is caged that doesn't have a place at the table at the moment.
Best patron in the cover!
How'd you get your duct tape off?
Yeah.
If you would like to see what I have seen, and I'll just kind of create that image for
Nice.
everybody.
So you get some moderate reactions from some of the individuals at the table. The lore walker, Representative Allison Westlake, seems to be more convinced by what you're showing. Jeremiah Corbett, he kind of just sits down and just watches and waits and kind of observes everything. And then once you've gone through and kind of showed them everything that you can, he just still, it doesn't necessarily allude to some grand scheme. So they were obsessed with worshiping her and her creatures and were possibly trying to use them or resurrect them. The question isn't about whether or not they were there, they were present, and that things happened. The question is whether or not their true motives are an armed conflict with the entire world and taking it over. The message that their followers send is very different from that. So what we need is leadership. We need proof of leadership having those goals and those connections.
There is one more thing that happened in Rivergate that you might like to know. When we were investigating what was going on, we found an individual in a tunnel system that was what we later found out as the son of Lord Manfred, his son, who had been transformed by some foul magic into, it looked almost like a half of a tiefling. And when we found him, we led, unfortunately, after breaking a seal, succubi to his location. And they said that he was the key to releasing Takesis.
Manfred's own son. Key to her release.
And the jailer was in on it. When we went to Avernus to close the portals, what we met was Hizit,
Yeah.
the pit fiend, jailer to Takesis. And he was looking to let her free as much as the cult of domination was.
Mighty promises to move a pit fiend.
And that...
Or simply collecting, as Marshal Uldren Venatar speaks up. His son's involvement, it doesn't mean anything. Again, the simplest explanation is that the devils arrived in Rivergate to collect on the debt made by Manfred years ago that assisted his rise to power. All of our information that we've gathered from our own investigations in Rivergate point to that being the cause for what happened. We can find no direct links between the cult of domination and what's happening now, other than uprisings, riots, and the usual from those who feel that they've been oppressed by the rulers of the lands. We're not looking at open conflict and war. We're looking at rabbles and peasants and individuals ransacking the neighboring land, unfortunately gathering more to their cause.
Peasants are paying for expensive mercenaries.
You're seeing only one part of the greater machination that's happening behind the scenes.
The fighting in Bravadis is over 1,700 miles away from here. How do you connect those things together?
A widespread conspiracy.
What of the members of the Circle of Mirrors who had ties to the cult that were captured? Members of the Circle of Mirrors are not mere peasants.
There was more. When we were there searching for his son, we found more. We found crates of weapons
that were being funneled underneath the city's tunnels with the symbol of the Cult of Domination on the boxes.
Do you have these weapons?
You may still be in the sewers.
They were in the sewers. Unfortunately, we did have a piece of the box we kept, but on the way back from hell, it just seemed to have burned off. I am sorry.
So, Allison speaks up. I mean, if they had the weapons, then they were moving them. But she looks to Rivergate. But everybody knows that Rivergate is a cesspool for crime. They harbor pirates and raiders and reavers who ransack everybody else's fleets and trade routes. Why would the presence of just weapons that happen to be marked with the Cult of Domination mean anything more than they may have been intended to supply their own guards and protectors and mercenaries? It's not necessarily any kind of proof towards a full-on armed uprising happening throughout the world. We can, in fact, with our resources, put down and calm the populace. But that's not what you're here to convince us of. You're here to convince us, I thought, and bring proof that the Cult of Domination's ultimate goal doesn't stop at just civil unrest and the raising of a new religion to be accepted by all. It's to bring back Takesis and the ascension of the chromatic dragons to rule over Terrowyn once again.
That was what the Green told us.
And you're right, but we haven't had access to those who were captured, who were serving the Circle of Mirrors.
Kuvira was there, nearly burned up by the Green. Told us.
This is not the first time we have seen this type of behavior from the Cult of Domination. We have seen this happen in Emrath.
Less violently.
We left before it got violent on purpose. What do you know, Soyasa, of Emrath?
I very much would be curious to hear any information, considering they've refused envoys and the general goodwill ambassadors who wish to maintain positive relations with the rest of Terrowyn.
Soyasa mutters under her breath to Katarina, because she's just happening to sit next to her, and says, I'm probably going to regret this later. Imrath has fallen to the Cult of Damnation. Domination. I don't know why.
Well, we are aware of that. They are spies and sources from the lore walkers confirm that they were on the winning side of the civil war that erupted.
No, your spies don't know the entire story of what happened there. I was on the streets when it happened, and there's much more to the cult than any of you realize. But no one from Imrath, if they're in their right mind, would probably talk about it if they even knew about it. But the cult, they're much more than what you think they all are. And they have much deeper machinations than any of you can realize. Our Emperor, he was warned about what they can do, what they're doing, their plans, by someone greater than anyone in this room. And he did not heed those warnings, and the Imrath fell. And they're building their forces there, most likely, to bring the Takesis back.
And even if their goals were not so great as to bring back Takesis herself, they overtook Emrath, and they could very easily do the same thing here. Even if that is the extent of their goal, shouldn't we be doing everything in our power to keep that from happening?
What is in Bravadus? Small armies attacking cities, ransacking.
You do not want the might of Imrath to rain down on the rest of the world.
They have what they need there. But what is in Bravadus? All these people gathered, all this knowledge. Someone knows. Something tied to that Takesis.
They're trying to bring her back. It's all connected. It has to be.
Of course. Our word isn't enough. So someone here already has a piece that they need to put on the table.
We have no reason to jump into a portal to hell to save the city just to come here and lie to you all about our experience.
There has been many times that we have run into the priests of the cult of domination. The most recent one was when we were attacked by demons inside of a tavern. And then we were warned by a warlock, was it? Mm-hmm. That her deity, her patron, wanted to warn us that what the cult of domination was doing. That they wanted to free Tekesis. We did not get to finish talking because we were then attacked. After we were able to defend ourselves, the tavern burned. The cult of domination arrived with perfect timing to stop the fire from spreading. They approached us and with very hushed voices threatened us for what we were doing. Later that day, the next day, we were being hunted down by a captain of the guard of this section of the city in Rivergate. And he leaned in, and when we were going to be arrested, I presume, he threatened us, and he removed his armor to reveal the mark of the cult of domination, saying that his higher-ups wanted to talk to us and stop us from talking and doing what we were doing in the city.
We have no proof again.
We are not going to have proof. All we can do is we must point out the truth. We must give the people here an answer to their question, which is why. We will not have proof, we know this. So now we must point them in the direction that makes sense. We must draw the line for them to see what we have seen. As Ilyana has said, each one of us has had dealings with the cult of domination. We need to put together the bigger picture.
All I can tell you is that, and she tries to raise her voice a bit louder for everybody in the room, I was a Praetorian guard in Imrath. I served next to the Emperor himself. The Emperor received guidance from an ancient dragon about the cult. I witnessed everything from the inside. I can tell you anything that I was present for, but you have to believe me. You have to believe all of us.
So the marshal speaks up. To a degree, we do believe you. Belief isn't the issue. You're not giving it. Anecdotal stories don't give us the answers. We need information. We need names, places, things that you saw that can help us piece together their next steps and plans. We need to have something solid to throw our forces and our weight behind, and our support. We can't move and usher thousands of troops, wealth, support, materials on hunches and possibilities. There has to be something. And then Allison speaks up again. Well, our sources have been able to put together. They are looking for something. They've been collecting artifacts. Their wizards have been poring over every library, every institution of learning, and every academy that they can. And they're honing in on something.
That does seem like a great deal of effort if their plans are not as grand as bringing back Tekesis. What could they possibly need those relics for, if not that?
Could be. You're right. The question is what are the relics? Somebody has to have known something. There has to be some direction where we can pour our resources in order to get to. If you spent all this time in Rivergate, where most of this was happening, you had to have seen something. Something that could directly give us evidence that they're either acquiring or looking for something directly. As of now, we don't have much to go on.
When the city was falling, our group became separated. 3 of us were tasked with finding the Silver Dragon. We traveled up a mountain and we found more than just him. As you said, the 5 chromatic dragons, we met them. We spoke with
The metallic dragon.
the metallics, thank you. We spoke with the metallic
Yes, we're
dragons.
already aware of this.
They
Kavira has already informed us. Bravum the Silver is dead, and the other dragons haven't been heard from since then in months. They're unreliable.
Do we know
They
the nature
refuse
of
to become involved
Bravum's
as far as
death?
we're aware.
they
Bravum was killed by Riven.
Then is that not proof enough that the dragons are involved in this conflict?
It's proof enough that old grudges that are thousands of years old, bred from the beginning of time, don't die just simply because time has passed. The dragons have always fought one another.
You did not let me finish.
I don't need you to finish.
The dragon said something of importance at the end of the meeting. That they now must look for something they called the orbs. That it was important. I do not know what those are. Maybe Ilyana does. Maybe anyone here who is more knowledgeable than me. But they were looking and said they must find the orbs. Maybe those are the relics that you seek. If it is something that even the 5 metallic dragons seek, maybe that is something that they must find. I don't know what it is.
So Elishor has been pretty quiet this whole time, and she finally speaks up. The dragon orbs were destroyed years ago. As a part of brokering the alliance, they were destroyed.
Clearly not.
I cannot say if they were.
Proof of their existence would mean outright war
I would look
between
to
the
circles.
dragons.
They love their secrets and their weapons.
All I know,
The orbs were destroyed.
it did not seem that way when the dragons were discussing finding them.
If the orbs were not destroyed, if for some reason the metallic dragons of old, the ancients, who formed the pact, did not destroy them, then that would explain why the cult of domination has yet to actually bring their full force to bear.
Maybe there's
What are these orbs that you speak of?
Can I, I'm going to spend a sorcerer point to cast Detect Thoughts without any verbal or somatic components. I just want to check kind of the surface level thoughts of everybody at the table and see if anybody maybe knows more about the orbs than they're letting on, or maybe if anyone in here has like bad intentions toward the treaty that's kind of trying to happen right now.
Okay. At surface level, you don't pick up on any of that.
Okay.
You hear Locke shouting, "Remember, goddammit," a lot.
Elishor and Ilyana are both familiar with the orbs, and they recognize their importance. Elishor seems genuinely surprised that they were mentioned by the metallic dragons. Ilyana, not so much.
Yeah, she wouldn't be, would she?
Calm down over there.
Everybody else is kind of trying to wade through the information. There's confusion.
Goddamn wizards, can't trust them. I am the trustworthy wizard, not affiliated with a circle.
Bullshit. Only when it comes to your words, not your spells.
All spells are the same.
Ooh, burn. But
Yeah, so that's all you get from Detect Thoughts.
Maybe the metallics destroyed theirs. Did anybody else have one?
Did you try and read our thoughts?
So Ilyana.
Yeah, I would have been able to detect thoughts of
Did
anyone
someone
within
create
30
one
feet of
without
me.
the metallic's knowledge? Something
No.
that humans would.
It's not possible.
They exist.
My ancestors created 5 of them, one for each chromatic dragon. Each one houses the soul of a powerful ancient chromatic to power its magic, and they were used to destroy dragons.
Then a facsimile. Something with the same capability.
No. The forging of them is impossible.
It was done once, why not again?
All information regarding their creation was destroyed and suppressed purposely by my ancestors. They would not be made again. They cannot be made. You do not understand. They cannot be made again.
How would you know? They were destroyed.
This is well beyond your knowledge and capabilities.
All I know is that with time, everything is possible.
But wait,
No, this is not possible.
wasn't the information for how to create Abishai just recently unearthed, and that was supposedly lost to time?
It was only supposedly lost because we thought that the secret died with her master at arms. The dragon orbs and the creation of them is on a completely different level. It comes from a completely different source of power.
Then, why would the chromatic
Metallic.
why would the metallic dragons speak of them as if they are still there? They said they must go find and look for them and talk with the other dragons, and then we were sent back to Rivergate to save it.
They were quite confident.
There's
something else happening. If the metallic dragons have betrayed all of what was stood for when the world fought and defeated Takesis the first time in the first Dragon Wars, then everything that we have been told about them is a lie, and the metallic dragons themselves cannot be trusted. They were to destroy them. That was what cemented the treaty. That is what has kept the peace all these years. Right now, we have no proof of chromatic dragons rallying in large numbers. If this information gets out that those still exist, that will change, and we will suddenly be facing hundreds of ancient dragons and adult dragons of all shapes and size going to war over the breaking of a treaty that has stood for 3,000 years. If they are still here, we have to find them. So you hear a voice coming from the room entering, and you see a man walk in. You recognize Novar as he speaks up. I know where they are.
As I said, went to the circles.
I gathered all 5 on command of Empress Jacqueline Mercier III of Lior, and kept them at the circle. At the cost of the lives of many adventurers, they were brought to us. I was hoping that we'd be able to keep them secret and destroy them at a later date. Unfortunately, it seems as though we've run out of time. Some of the people have been really quiet. One of them, the representative from the Sacred Brotherhood, Natalie, kind of brings up the point that the existence of the dragon orbs creates a catastrophic imbalance in the world as of this moment. Then our first and only real priority should be getting them in our hands and destroying them. If they're destroyed, then the chromatic dragons are less likely to have a rallying call by which that Takesis can use them to war on Terrowyn.
But if this war is already upon us, regardless of the dragon orbs, would it not be in our best interest to use them to our advantage?
They do exist. And they worked before.
As Jeremiah speaks up again. They were right that since they do exist, we should probably consider using them again. Maybe their existence would serve to dissuade the dragons from launching a full-scale attack on our lands, as opposed to rallying them. But they're not in our possession. And Lior refused the invitation to join us at council. So what should we make of that then?
Well, we might pay them a visit to see why they would not attend.
I would imagine that Emrath and Lior have already fallen.
No. I don't think so.
He's I don't know if I know that. Never mind.
How spirited is this siege on Lior?
Well, it hasn't devolved into direct warfare, per se.
Just enough to look convincing?
Well, there's more threatening and posturing more than anything, it seems.
Yeah.
Dragons have been seen active on the outskirts of Lior, on its borders. Outside of that, we don't have much information that leads us to believe that there's any real unrest in Lior. But that could simply be a result of the fact that they embraced them and allowed them to build their church while the rest of us said no.
Or they're using the orbs as a shield, a threat. They've either joined or they're leaving the rest of us to burn. Or they don't know what they have, but that seems unlikely.
So Lord Raymond speaks up. If Lior has joined them, then the war is already over. Which seems not to be the case, because we're still here having this conversation now.
So they're holding the orbs ransom to get what they want.
Possibly. Maybe we should ask Novar.
How forthcoming would he be? Would any of them be?
I mean, he's standing right
He's
there.
standing there.
Oh, I know. So I want him to hear me say that.
Oh, okay.
Those circles have done nothing but hide and let all this befall us in the first place.
The Empress ordered us to find them, and find them we did, and we brought them to us. There was disagreement within her courts about what to do with them, whether or not they... I was not invited to those discussions, as I don't have an official position in her court.
And yet counter, then didn't warn anyone else.
Didn't have time.
Didn't have time.
We're trying to decide to keep them quiet and hidden from other outside forces.
How many of the others in the circle knew?
Nobody except myself. I was the only one who understood and knew truly what they were and what it meant for them to still be intact, to have not been destroyed. I assume the Empress learned through her spies of what was happening. Like I said, it did cost the lives of many other adventurers. They weren't all in one place. They had to be found. They were scattered all over Terrowyn.
And in that short time that I'm sure that took.
Months of searching.
No thought as to the consequences of having them in one place under one banner.
Better in one place where we could control them and find a way to destroy them. versus hidden in the world, open to anybody's control.
And then they slipped from you anyhow.
No, they're still there.
Do you
They
know
haven't slipped
what?
from anywhere. They are still in the circle.
Do you know what her intention for finding them was?
No.
Then it seems that all we can do is either go get them or go find out what they are doing with them. The moment they are together, easier for them to take if they want them. If this is the true goal of the cult of domination,
Their goal would be to destroy them.
their goal is right there, within arm's reach.
Or to use them against us?
How?
Against
By having more control over the dragons that are already on their side?
No, against the dragons that are against us. Against them.
Who would be if they're commanded by Takesis?
The same ones that fought the last time that she was here.
They intend to destroy the orbs. The only reason they haven't is because someone in Leor is using them for their own gain.
We do not know that. We need to go see.
I do believe that our best course of action would be to go to Leor and find these orbs for ourselves. I do not know what their intentions are, but I know that our intentions are
Well,
good, and
luckily-
those orbs are safe in our hands.
That circle's very leader is here, with intimate knowledge of the tower, where they are, and how to get in, teleportation, and everything.
Would we be welcome guests in your circle, Novar?
The circle no longer occupies Marseille. We were sanctioned and banned from the city.
So they slipped from you.
No, they're hidden.
No, they're not, and you know it.
No, I do know. They are hidden. In a vault. Underneath the circle's turret grounds. She knows they're there. But she has no access to them without our participation.
They'll find a way.
Did you come here to ask for help getting them back then?
That's the wrong set of notes. No, I was hoping that they could remain hidden long enough and out of the minds of those who would seek to use them for their own gain, long enough for us to find a way to destroy them and put them take them off the board altogether, which was the original plan. Whether or not we control them and it instigates the dragons to rally to the cause of once again taking over Terrowyn, or whether or not it falls into the hands of the cult of domination, either way, it's bad news for everybody in the world.
Then how do we destroy them?
I don't know.
We shouldn't.
Like Ilyana said, we're dealing with magic well beyond the comprehension of what we're capable of recreating now.
We need to be able to speak to dragons.
We need to use them, not destroy them. That's what
I can tell you that they are inert.
They're not active?
No, they're not active.
Do you know how they are used?
There's scattered texts and the only ones who really knew how it worked were the Dragon Knights. They were gifted to them, and it was through them that they destroyed the dragons and ended the war. Any other information regarding their use activation
the chromatics
is gone.
know.
Then maybe we should investigate the Dragon Knights.
The chromatics know. And they'll show us, and we should use them.
You both met with you all met with the dragons. Do you not have a way to contact them?
No.
We've already tried. They haven't sent us any answers. We're not sure why. They're hiding. Or waiting their time.
And just like the chromatics know, so do the metallics. We need to get them first.
We need to find a way to destroy them.
No. That's what they want. It's too late.
You do not know what
It's
they
too
want.
late to mitigate damage. Now we need a weapon that can defend us.
We need to talk to a dragon that knows more than us. We need to talk to one of the ancient ones or just someone friendly to our cause that can fill in the blanks before we make any decisions.
So Allison speaks up. We don't need a weapon if the dragons have no reason to go to war with us. Thekesis isn't much use without an army at her back anyways. The Cult of Domination alone isn't powerful enough to overthrow us. And bringing her back, while an issue, without an army or others of her kind to follow in her step, the metallic dragons would put up more than enough of resistance on their own. She's no match for all of them together.
How useful would she be if they were all gone?
The metallic dragons aren't gone, though. They're still out there. We need answers from them. For one, why did they hide them instead of destroying them like we were all led to believe?
Because of this.
What, because they knew that she would come back?
She wasn't dead, was she?
They could have foreseen it.
And now we have a weapon that can eliminate all of her power, maybe even her.
It does not sound like we can rely on the metallic dragons to step in before it is too late for the rest of us.
Nor should we.
And you keep discounting the fact that the entire might of Imrath is at their command. It is not a petty number.
They have been
Imrath is
consolidating.
all the way on the other side of the world, though. Far from here.
They can move armies.
The fight has already been brought here.
They have quite a fleet.
Possibly.
And some less than scrupulous nations between us and them.
And not to mention teleportation magic and whatever else they've unearthed while trying to bring her back.
Then the question is, what do we do?
We find the metallics.
So, the, Raymond speaks up. Not Raymond, Castus does. So if I'm to understand, what we're discussing is more or less open warfare with Lior then, as opposed to the Cult of Domination.
Maybe a strongly worded letter to start. But when that doesn't work...
You don't know the Empress. That will accomplish nothing.
I know.
She's not here, and she should be.
Exactly.
They're a part of the Banner Alliance, much as everybody else is.
Doesn't that spell out their intention?
We should send...
It spells out that maybe they have their own self-interests in mind over everyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that they're wrong in doing so. They have the artifacts. We might consider doing the same things. Is that maybe more or less the reason why the dragons were supposed to have destroyed them, to prevent these very things from happening? Power like this is difficult to ignore. A single dragon orb is capable of outright killing and destroying multiple dragons.
Sounds like just what we need.
Well, maybe just a small group of us will be able to infiltrate Lior without sounding the alarm bells and causing more conflict for all of us.
I'd look to Novar. You can put us right where we'd have to go. And take us right where they are.
Possibly.
So I think that...
If they haven't activated their magic wards and the mythals that protect the city from dragon attack, if those have been activated, teleportation to the city is out of the question.
Well, if they have the orbs, is it necessary for them to do that?
Yes. Like I said, they're inert. If they're not active, they don't work.
And if your information is correct, the Empress cannot reach the orbs in the place they are currently being held, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's impossible.
it would be extraordinarily difficult. And I don't think that highly of her court wizard and their family anyways.
Bye, Max!
Bye.
He almost got away with it.
How long ago were they found?
By this point, over a year ago. So then Ileana speaks up.
So none of your...
That's not even completely the issue either anyways.
just
Even if they're activated.
You sat on them for a year. Your plan was to destroy them, but I'll do it alone. I won't share or consult with my entire resources of many wizards.
Too dangerous to let everybody else know.
Yes.
Chromatic dragons, I'm not sure you're aware, but they're not morons. They're not idiots or imbeciles. They polymorph. They're in every level
you have
of
the
government.
ear of some of the most powerful wizards in the world.
Which means nothing dealing with things made by creatures whose understanding of the weave goes beyond even the oldest elves.
You let your
Locke,
pride keep
enough.
you from asking for help because
I'm
you're
going
a
to
coward
walk
and
up
you're
to Locke
worthless. All of
and
you.
pick him up and carry him out of the room.
Oh, I lightning bolt you.
Do you? Do you?
Yeah.
You're gonna betray 10 years of trust?
I'm just upset.
Okay, then do it. Lightning bolt me if you want to go this route. The last time you did this, you pissed off an entire group of wizards. I'm preventing you from
That's
doing
true.
the same. And I'm carrying you out of this room.
Alright, not lightning bolt, but the shocking bolt.
Shocking grasp?
Shocking
Okay.
grasp. Bam.
Let go.
I respond, and I rage. As my grip tightens, and all you hear is, "This is no longer your conversation!" And I carry you out of this room.
You're all cowards. Bunch of worthless wizards.
I carry you out of the room, and I throw you down. Once we're outside of the area.
Why would you defend them?
Because for some reason, you are under the assumption that dragons are measly creatures.
I'm under the assumption that we have a weapon that will cow them.
Like you are a weapon? Brother?
Built for war. It's in the name.
Should we use you as a weapon? Should we use all of your people as weapons? No, you are people. You are more than just what you were built.
My failures have brought untold damage to the world, and I won't do it again. And they are allowing more damage for nothing because they're afraid. They've been afraid for over a year. He sat on the knowledge and didn't ask for help out of pride. He's letting all of this happen. It's Kavira did nothing to help her city. He did nothing to help all these people. You're just gonna let this happen? Let it continue?
Do you think I want to? Do you think that my entire life I have not waited for something like this?
You hate dragons more than anyone I've ever known. You would turn away?
And then I saw dragons. A dragon. Go and save an entire city, or try to, and helped us defend people.
There are more.
So,
And he is dead.
and I learned that maybe not all dragons are evil.
No. But they need to be.
Dragons need to be evil?
They need to be removed.
I have a question. Do I need to be removed? Do I? I killed 37 people to save you.
We've killed more.
This is not the point. You are arguing and you are angry. You're letting your rage corrupt you. Like I do.
I won't continue to let people die.
Then don't.
They need to be removed. And we have the weapon to do it.
At the moment,
The only things between us and saving everyone is a cowardly wizard and his cowardly followers. all of the circles let all of these people down, and they need to be torn away.
No, they do not.
After the dragons, them. Failures, all of them.
Locke.
Like me. I failed all of you. Who knows where Hargraves is, or what we did, or how long we were down there. You've got Gray. Did you not notice? Did you not look in the mirror? Gray. Was it stress or time?
Probably both, but that is not the problem. The problem is you are screaming at people that are more powerful than any one of us.
And still, they don't act.
They will.
They
but
intend
we need them as much as they need us.
We don't.
Yes, we do.
What we need is to get those weapons before them, because they will use them
You are
for their own
speaking.
gains and not for the good of the land. They
You
will
are
use them for
speaking-
their own gains. The circle will simply divide them among the other circles and keep them no matter what that wizard tells
When
you.
I found you in chains,
He had them for a year.
they said the same thing. The same words you speak now. They said the same thing.
What?
They wanted to use you. They wanted to have you at their beck and call. They believed you to be power.
I am. And still, why are you defending them? I don't understand.
I am
Years we've known each other.
Yes.
Why would you not want to destroy these dragons? The metallics?
Because I am thinking of what it would be like to go to war if we attempt to hold and use them. I don't know about you, but I have been raised on the stories of dragons and what they can do, what legions of them can do. This whole world would be nothing but paper to them.
Which is why we have a weapon that can erase
That does not
trouble.
work. It is inert. It is broken, as he said. It is the same as a dulled
Then
sword.
we need to lie to the metallics like they lied to us. They will show us how to activate them. They asked us to find them. That's their intention. And when we're done
Who asked them to find us? It was not the metallics. They said they needed to. You misremember.
They need
You are
them
forgetting.
because they know how to use them. They don't intend to destroy them.
We are fighting with no knowledge. You are trying to do things with so little information. This is not like you.
I have enough.
You have nothing. We need to breathe. We are both angry. Let them discuss it from now. We need more information before we do anything. And that is impressive coming from me.
And I wait at the entrance to make sure Locke doesn't try to get back in.
Are they yelling loud enough that we can hear this inside?
Oh yeah.
We're just sitting there at the table.
I don't care.
It's an
who
open.
heard me.
Yeah, it's an open floor plan. There's
Yeah.
no real
looking at her.
barriers between
Mm-hmm.
everyone else.
Please do not think ill of our friend. He is frustrated. We've had a rough go of it lately.
No, the motivations are confusing. The orbs are still here, but they are inert, which means they can't be used whatsoever.
Would the ancient dragons be the only ones with the knowledge to use them?
They must be. They don't exist within our records. We don't even know how they were forged. I'm sure that they would have been destroyed long ago if they didn't prove to be impervious to most of the magical effects.
Well, as
Possibly short of exposing them to the magic, the source of the very magic that was used in their creation. It is unlikely that any other magical force that we're aware of would be capable of cracking and destroying them.
Well, as long as they remain inert and safely kept away, our best course of action may be to track down the metallic dragons again and learn as much as we can about them.
If they had interest in collecting them, it might have been to destroy them. Again, their job is to keep the peace. They don't want war with their kin. They want them gone. They were supposed to be destroyed. This generation of dragons is not responsible for their creation, and they're not responsible for the decisions that were made that kept them in line. That kept them... The orbs should have been destroyed. So, I would be willing to bet that not all of the metallic dragons agreed, or most of them are probably just as surprised as we are to have found out that they weren't destroyed initially. Some dragon somewhere made a decision that went against the decision of the rest of the dragons and their ilk at the time.
But do we have any leads on where we could even find one of them besides Imrath? If I could get back there...
If there are no metallic dragons in Emrath.
Yes, there is. There's an ancient one there.
You'd have been a fool to stay there now it's fallen under the control of the chromatic dragons.
It disguises itself. It's lived there for... I don't even know how long. It's an ancient gold dragon that had the ear of the Emperor himself.
He can't hide from his kin.
You don't know that for sure.
I do. They can't hide from one another. Their polymorph may be able to fool most humanoids and most magic, but not the magic of their own kin. Not the smell.
Ancient ones are tricky, regardless, is what I'm saying.
Yes. And if he was truly clever, he would have left Emrath long before it fell.
He was there till the fall. I can tell you that much.
So the dwarf speaks up. I've been sitting here listening to you all night. You can't trust any dragons. All greedy and self-interested. That's all they've ever been, is a pain to my kind and my peoples. Raiding our citadels for our treasures, building their hoards.
Listen to the dwarf.
So I say, to hell with all of them. We march on Lior and we take them for ourselves, and we find a way to either use them or destroy them. If the cult of domination's true goal is outright war, then we should have the best weapons available.
I sympathize
But
with
without
what you've
them in
gone
our
through.
control, I can't in good conscience commit our people to war. So, until we find them and find out whether or not they can be used in the greater defense, the Steel Confederacy can't commit any sort of support or troops moving outside the defending our own holds.
I sympathize with what you and your people have been through. But it's possible that these dragons are the only chance we have to know how to use these orbs against them.
That may be. But until then, we can't commit troops to moving from outside our holds. If Bravadus is only a stepping stone, we're next. We can manufacture resources, cannons, siege equipment, and weapons to help support the war effort, but we can't commit people. We need everybody in Iron Falls and other citadels to defend them. But I might be able to convince our king otherwise if we knew that we had such a powerful weapon on our side.
I believe that we need the knowledge of the dragons, but we do not know where they are, but we do know where the orbs are.
They're a bunch of worthless rocks right now, though.
Then, Allison speaks up again. Well, based on what I've heard, I think the True Seekers would be willing to commit more spies and lore walkers to infiltrating Lior and seeing what's happening there. Maybe we can glean some interest from inside the court. We know some nobles and people of interest who'd be less tight-lipped if enough coin was spent their direction.
Having more information about their situation would certainly be helpful.
It's something.
But once again, Casta speaks of, but we need to find them, and we need to get them.
I agree wholeheartedly.
They're in a heavily defended, guarded city that's been mobilized for war.
What are you going to do with them if you get them?
I guess we would have to figure that out later. We would have to discuss it amongst ourselves and decide what the best course of action would be. Assuming we can get our hands on them and bring them here. Alaska's protective barriers have withstood dragon attacks before. They wouldn't be able to get them from here, let alone Marseille or any other major city. But a direct attack isn't what worries me. It's the spies and infiltrators and the influence of the cult of domination getting close. It makes sense to me that everything that the spies and scouts have told us is that the cult of domination is looking for the dragon orbs, which means they're aware they exist. They can't find them, and they need them.
They're perfectly safe where they are now.
They
then.
work as... I would hope everybody would realize that what Ileana and Elishor has said is that the issue with the dragon orbs is once they're on the board, it works both ways. They're not just designed to destroy chromatic dragons. In the hands of the cult of domination, they would be used to destroy any metallic dragon that comes in their direction as well. It works both ways. It's a double-edged sword. Once they're on the board and in play, we can't take them away. But if we can destroy them, then really it comes down to a war of force and the will to... and attrition. It comes down to whether or not the chromatics are invested enough in Takesis to wage a war against their own kin and all the other united good realms at once.
We're going in circles again and again, though. They're inert right now. No one can destroy them. No one can use them. They're safe, as far as we know, where they are.
But if dragons on either side know how to reactivate them, that makes them dangerous in either of their hands.
But
it means it's a weapon on our side. For now, maybe.
They might... To get them, you'd have to move them to bring them here. There's so many opportunities for a spy or someone else to step in. Leave them where they're safe, let us find information, and then we do something.
The Warforged is right to a degree. They won't be safe forever.
Nothing's safe forever.
He has a point. They're not safe as long as... Well, we're not the only ones who know that they are there. The Empress herself knows. And she obviously does not seem to be on the side of good and righteousness.
I have spent time in her court. Her people love her. And they hail her as a great savior and renovator of their lands. She's done much good for them, but she's a shrewd and calculated woman. She aspires for Lior to be greater than what it is.
Would destroying the orbs now, so long after they were meant to be destroyed the first time, appease the chromatic dragons enough to not join this war? Or would just the knowledge that they weren't destroyed in the first place be enough for them to justify joining Takesis' cause? Destroying them now may do no good.
I'm not sure. There's some piece that we're missing here still, some piece of critical information. If the chromatic dragons as a whole knew that the dragon orbs hadn't been destroyed, then either way, they would have moved to at least parley with the metallic dragons, which, as I'm aware, has never been attempted and hasn't happened. Right now, they're at a standoff. They have two armies looking at each other across the field, trying to figure out what the other one's motives and intentions are. Maybe both were hoping that since they exist, maybe they're hoping that they could strike a final blow. Either way, the ultimate goal of any of those who worship Tiamat is to see the destruction of the Metallic King Bahamut and for them to rule Terrowyn. It's nothing short of that. It's only greed and self-interest and that strong motivation to be more powerful than the next dragon, that keeps the chromatic dragons from conquering the world anyways. But with the dragon orbs in their hands, they could accomplish everything that they had ever set out to do.
Well, if that's the case, maybe it is best for non-dragons such as us to hold these orbs so that regular people cannot be taken advantage of ever again by dragons of either kind.
So Novar speaks again. I agree. That was why I held on to them. When I realized the efforts to destroy them were futile and I needed more time and information, they were best kept where they were, safe out of the reach of those who would use them to wage war and destroy the world, than out in the open being used for any other reason. They can't be trusted in the hands of either the metallic dragons or the chromatic dragons. That much is clear. Now we just have to get them for ourselves and hope that we can find a way to destroy them.
It may not be in our best interest then to disclose to the metallic dragons that we know where they are.
I agree. We should not tell the dragons. We should get them and destroy them. We don't want any dragons getting more powerful than they are.
Tell me, what good are the orbs if all the dragons are gone?
Did you guys come back inside?
I'm at the door. I'm at the door. I'm at the door still leaning in. Yeah, everybody. I can speak up. You can talk. Just trying to prevent angriness. If you're going to walk up, I'm just going to lean up.
Do not let your emotions get the better of you again, please.
Nice holding my hand at him. What if all of them are gone?
There's no way to get rid of them all. You can't hunt them down. They're not homing beacons that tell you if a dragon is standing near them. One of the major problems with using them as just general weapons is when the dragon orb is activated, all dragons within range come to it. Metallic, chromatic, all together.
Well,
the metallics are our allies. We can't betray them. They've guarded us and looked out for us since the beginning of time. They were there when the Titans were felled. We can't treat them as if they don't belong. They have every right to exist the same as you do. What you'd be advocating is genocide of an entire species. I, for one, don't believe that the metallic dragons would use them. If they found out that they existed, they would go out of their way to destroy them. They believe in balance. They don't believe that their kin don't deserve to survive. They simply wish to keep the peace. For 3,000 years, we've benefited from minor dragon attacks in accords with the Alliance. They take some, they fight some, they remain their territories, but for the most part, the chromatic dragons have kept to their own word and stayed in their own territories and lands.
Well, if we knew where the metallic dragons were, I'd say that getting information from them would be a good idea, but it seems like they'll be difficult to find.
We won't be able to find them until they're ready to talk to us.
Then it may be worth getting the dragon orbs first.
They will surely wish to speak to us then.
As long as we can actually keep them safe.
That is also a problem.
Grab the orbs, activate if we can. That'll draw them in.
There's plenty of... We just can't flip a switch and activate them. People more powerful than us have had them in their presence and they don't know how to activate them.
We may not be able to activate them at all without the help of the metallic.
Exactly. It's probably innate magic of the dragons themselves that do that. And if we pick them up, if we take them, a target will be drawn on all of our backs.
I have another question, and this is for Ilyana. You said an essence of a dragon was used in the creation of the objects?
In the myth, yes.
my powers that I get for the tattoos that adorn my body, they used a similar method. An essence of a dragon was grafted into these tattoos, and that essence is what I harness when I get too angry. Could putting essence back into an orb activate it?
It's possible.
That's it. That's all I got. That's my knowledge.
It's never been tried.
I mean, that's in the same vein of if someone like me tried to breathe on it. Have you ever had the Dragonborn actually touch one of these things?
No. No, not as far as I'm aware.
Then we
And
have
Elbar
multiple
confirms
things
no.
that we could try.
But you're not true dragon either. You were created by a true dragon, but you're not a dragon.
Really? Tell me about my origins more, please. At least I have a little bit of the spark inside me.
Maybe. Maybe enough to read on the inside and communicate with it.
Maybe.
It has been said that they were sentient. That when they're activated, you can communicate with the dragon on the inside. That it takes a powerful mind to take control. It's not like casting a spell. If a dragon orb could overwhelm its user, it could make them do whatever it wished.
Well, we have to try something, and we have 2 individuals here that might be able to get something out of these orbs. I don't hear better ideas.
What we know for sure is that we know where they are and we need to get them in our possession. Quickly.
If we can do
I
it,
agree.
if we can do it somewhat safely, guarding against spies and the influence of the cult.
And it seems that we have our next job.
To Lior,
Seems to be
then?
the case.
I imagine if we're going to be sneaking into...
Why are we sneaking? All these powerful people. You can't make demands. Send demands to Lior.
We don't need to deal with politics right now.
That might also leave a larger chance that somebody else discovers the orb's existence.
We teleport.
If official
in.
word reaches the court of Lior and it's been infiltrated by agents of the cult of domination, we would have tipped our hand to them. They would now know where the dragon orbs are.
Who knows? The Empress knows.
The Empress knows. Which means her closest advisor might know. That does not mean that everyone knows. If everyone knew, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. I said that earlier. If the cult of domination knew for sure where these orbs were, they would already have them,
Then we'll
have more than
deliver-
likely activated them, and we'd be having a completely different discussion.
Then we'll deliver the letter, and she will walk us into that tower.
How?
So you said if she was the one that activated any of the defenses, she'll be the one to take them down.
But how do you believe that you would walk or demand of a queen that you see her?
I won't. You all will.
Don't have that power. She sanctioned us. The Circle of the All-Seeing Eye is no longer welcome within the borders of Lior, and queens and kings don't answer to the circles.
Then you all will, and I address the whole room. All of you. Together.
So once again, Marshall speaks up. So we're threatening war then. We march, and what if she doesn't blink at our bluff?
Why bluff?
That's my point. War with Lior sounds like a terrible idea. As a matter of fact, it sounds like the very thing that a chromatic dragon would expect us to do in order to get what we're looking for. We're fighting ourselves, then we're spending resources, and we're not united to stop them when they come to clean up the mess.
We have someone from the
Who
circle.
are we supposed to rely on? Are we to rely on you, Warforged, to stop the Red Dragon when it comes for us?
Nothing will stop it.
but the orbs.
No, we can stop them if we all stand united and gather our resources together. With the combined power of the circles, all the mages and soldiers that we can muster, we can stop them. We just need a commitment here that we all are working towards the same goal. So if we can all agree that finding the dragon orbs and destroying them as our goal, then you have the pledge of the entire Westguard mercenary army and all of my contacts from Terrowyn to gather upwards of 7,000 troops to commit to the battle, as well as our resources in rebuilding.
I believe that our best course of action is to let you and our other leaders here gather, rally your troops, and prepare for war, while the small group of us get in and out of Lior unseen and unheard with the dragon orbs.
We have a master of the circle here. It shouldn't be hard to get us in with some sort of magic and they can guide us there.
I can give you the information needed to get into the vault, but I can't actually go there.
Of course.
My presence would be detrimental to the effort.
No, just get us in, give us the information, and we can do it.
I will get behind the getting of the orbs to destroy them. I believe in this cause.
I may have a source that you can use. He can give you a safe place to hide. He feels the same way about dragons and has the same philosophy about the orbs and their existence. He's the only other person I've told outside of Ileana that they even exist. If you find him, he should be able to provide assistance. More than likely safe passage and cover out of Lior. Past at least the magical defenses that would keep teleportation from happening.
Sounds like exactly what we need.
I agree.
Then it is settled?
Is everyone else in agreement? And I'll address the whole room.
Okay. So, unanimously, all the representatives of the Banner Alliance agree to pledge their armies and their support to the defense of the Shattered Coast and to fighting the Cult of Domination. Starting by finding and destroying any caches of weapons and plans or battle plans that might be being organized. The Steel Confederacy is unconvinced, and they vote to basically maintain neutrality in open warfare. The Sacred Brotherhood agrees to provide their best druids and neutral lycanthropes and rangers to reconnaissance duties and support when it comes to locating the metallic dragons and establishing communication with them. Ilithir agrees to house and gather all of their best wizards to bring them to Aleska once the dragon orbs are found and try to basically unravel how they work, their function, and how to destroy them. And the Truth Seekers agree to infiltrate and send their best agents into Lior to infiltrate the Queen's court and find out who or who may not be aligned with the Cult of Domination and what her current plans are, like why she didn't send a representative to this meeting, and to figure out what's happening there, as well as to connect the dots between the Cult of Domination and the Red Hand mercenaries in Bravadis. And the Vanguard Wardens agree to put out a call to all questing knights, paladins, and all the nobles who support them with their wealth to creating a specialized strike force to hit whatever the most important target is at the time.
That's rad.
And they end with Ilyana ends with basically saying that once we find the orbs, it's more than likely that somebody will find out that something has been moved. Their agents are everywhere, their influence is in every level. We won't be able to keep it secret forever that the dragon orbs are in our possession. Once we have them, we have to take a swift action to take out the heart of the cult of domination, which means locating their leadership. After getting the dragon orbs, locating their leaders and where they are should be our next most important step. For if we can't activate the orbs, their very existence could proc the chromatic dragons into open warfare.
Then I hope it is understood that the utmost discretion is necessary in our mission. No one outside this room can know that we are going after the orbs.
I don't think that should be much of a problem. Everyone here is committed to ending this war. And everyone here is willing to sacrifice themselves to protect all those who can't protect themselves. We'll take whatever action is necessary. Even if the dragon orbs are destroyed, we can only hope that that dissuades war from happening. But Takesis, if she does come back, if for some reason they find a way to bring her back from Avernus, she'll have to be dealt with as well. Whether it's here, or in Emrath, or Bravadus, no matter what, if she comes back, she'll be able to more than likely rally some of her old followers. We'll see some sort of battle unfold. I just wish I could know what her ultimate goal is. What does she want? What are her motivations for doing what she does? Maybe we'll never know. Just have to hope that the gods are on our side in this. Coming between an ancient feud. Maybe everything has been building to this anyways. This is definitely the trial of our time. I will also I will try to find somebody who can maybe try to track down the whereabouts and the resting places of the Dragon Knights. The weapons and equipment that they used would more than likely come in handy. Who knows? Maybe it's through tracking them down that we even find the answers that we're looking for. They were there at the signing of the treaty. So, on to Lior then.
Yes, on to Lior.
Until next Friday. We hope that your week is as legendary as our Friday was. So we will see you next week.